Thank you, and thank you, Administrator, for being here. I represent the 1st Congressional District of Nevada. That is basically Las Vegas. We live in the desert. If you've ever been there, you know our biggest body of water is the fountains in front of the Bellagio. So we're kind of a unique situation.
And they are beautiful.
Well, we get about 4 inches of water a year, but we also depend on one source primarily. 90% of our water comes from the Colorado River. It serves 2 million people who live there in the valley and 42 million people who come as tourists. So protecting that river is very important to us. And so I am very supportive of your efforts and generally think what you're doing is right on track. I've talked to some of the local government agencies, however, and they have a bit of a concern about the definition of ephemeral tributaries. And I'd like to enter their letters in the record, if I may. One is from the Regional Flood Control District of Clark County, and one is from the Las Vegas Valley Watershed Advisory Committee. If that's all right.
Yeah, without objection.
All right, thank you.
So ordered.
The Flood Control District is concerned about the definition of ephemeral washes in the desert throughout the Southwest, because oftentimes they won't carry water for years, but when they do, it may be a flash flood, so the water level is very high. We would like to figure out how they will fit into the scheme of things. And the second concern from the Las Vegas Watershed Advisory also is about that same definition, and they'd like to know if some facilities that they construct for water projects will actually be included, things like ditches, canals, ponds, man-made features used in the operation of wastewater treatment and supply systems. So could you address those two things or give me something that I can take back to them to assure them that these things are being considered in this process?
Yes, let me answer two. One is, let us know who you'd like us to talk to, because we will be very clear, as we answered before, about the MS4 issues, which is one of your issues. All of the construction that is done to protect stormwater from urban areas and others, it's extremely important for us to recognize and continue to incent that and not to confuse that issue. Let me mention the ephemeral washes, because the significant issue for us is, when does an ephemeral flow, when is it sufficient duration and intensity and frequency that it has an opportunity to impact the quality of the water that is downstream? That is the question. So what we are doing in this rule is trying to define the very water features that you can articulate in the field that reflect a water flow in those washes that indicate that it's of sufficient flow, duration, and frequency, that it would have created a bed, a bank, and a high water, ordinary high water mark. Thank you very much. The O always eludes me. Which are actually features that reflect that it flows sufficiently and frequently enough that it could significantly impact the biological and chemical and physical integrity of the waters that it flows into. So we are doing our best to define that in a way that you can see it and you can know what's in and what's out, and would certainly find it an opportunity to talk to anybody about why we're making those connections and why we think it's respectful of the science, and why it will also minimize confusion in a way that will be helpful to everybody.
I appreciate that. If I can get them in touch with your office then to kind of reassure them along
We're happy to reach out to your office as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I yield back.
Mr. Hardy, your recommendation.